Welcome back to the virtual hangar. Today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute and spooky Halloween decor. Build-a-boo, get it? Anyways, your kit will include one piece of plywood, about 1/2 inch thick, about 175, believe it or not, 1/2 inch nails, one adorable hammer, a piece of sandpaper, one thing of white embroidery floss, one thing of black embroidery floss, and a paper pattern. We are going to start with this paper pattern. You can see in the upper right hand I did that little small version of what the pattern is going to look like. So I go ahead and put that to the side so I recognize the pieces once I'm done cutting them all out. And then I just take a pair of scissors and cut along the black lines to get all the individual pieces. I went ahead and labeled the left and right eye. I'm fairly confident they are identical, but if you are a particular person, which I am, there you go. Those are the right ones. Next step is to take our piece of wood here and use the sandpaper. Definitely get the edges. You want to kind of flatten your hand at about a 45-degree angle from the side there of the wood, and get any of the really big splinters that come off, and then go across all of the edges, just rubbing back and forth. I'm doing in super fast motion here, over, outside or someplace that you can easily vacuum up, just to make it nice and smooth to the touch. You don't want to pull it out of your Halloween decoration box later. You can see how I'm doing the edge here, just kind of wrapping my hand around and making kind of a U shape with my hand to get all 3 of those edges at once. And then sanding the surface, just in case there's any big splinters. It really should be okay, making sure we get those corners. You just want it to be nice and smooth so next year when you go to decorate, you aren't going to get a big old splinter in your hand. Once it feels nice and smooth on all the edges and the surface, you can go ahead and wipe off or vacuum your table. You can take a paper towel or a lightly damp paper towel and kind of rub the surface of your plywood and make sure you get all the last bits of sandpaper that are coming off there. And there is our plywood panel all ready to go. So I'm going to lay out our paper pattern in the same way as that little mini version I put on the heading of the paper pattern. Maybe you saved it, maybe you didn't. And then just trace around each piece with a pencil. I'm going to do that pretty fast here, a little bit of movie magic again, and just do it all of the pieces with the pencil. You can erase on it a little bit if you make a mistake, and that should be fine. So there's our pattern there. Let's talk about hammers and nails. So we've got these little tiny nails. I picked nails for this project that are about as thick as the wood I gave you, or just a little bit thicker. We want to hammer these in. You hold it between your thumb and forefinger and use the hammer to lightly tap. These are really little, so you may hit your fingers. You will have to kind of work at it. But if you are having difficulty, you can actually use a clothespin. Don't put it in the big hole. Try and squeeze it in between the ends there. And you can use that to kind of hold it up, get it started with the hammer. And then you can move the clothespin to hammer it in the rest of the way, just like that. So all along our pattern, wherever you've drawn a pencil line, we are just going to hammer in some nails. We want to hammer not from the side or the other side. We want to try and hammer in these nails just perfectly straight up and down in all directions. It's actually a little bit tricky to do that, especially at this size, but that's why this project is good. It's practice. So go ahead and give it a couple taps and just do nails all the way around, about every inch or maybe a little less, like 3/4 of an inch, a couple centimeters, I don't know. The more curvy the pattern is, you're going to want to put more nails along that area of the pattern so that the curve doesn't get lost, because if you're trying to follow a curve, the string will go between each nail in a straight line. So if you don't do enough, your ghost may be a little bit blocky. When we get to the eye here, we've got those 2 lines right next to each other. You can kind of cheat the outside line, do the nail just outside the line, and then the inside line just inside. And you can kind of see my distribution of nails about there. If we look at this from the side, you can see the nails are sticking out about 1/4 of an inch, we'll say. And you want to at least get them far enough in so that when you go to tie string to them, like this, that they don't fall out or wiggle, or that you have a nice secure foundation. So we're going to tie our white string to the body of the ghost. And just like the first step of tying a shoelace, just twice, little double overhand knot, just like that. And I am just going to wrap around each nail. I don't tie a knot, I just go all the way around, kind of in a clockwise motion, around the border of each shape first, just to give that good outline. Then I don't have to worry about the outline later. That makes sure I get good coverage all the way across the shape. But you can see the line goes on the outside if you wrap towards the middle. The line goes on the inside if you wrap towards the outside edge. And then we just start stringing it up in a pattern. We're just trying to fill in the shape and give the whole thing color. I am trying to elevate this a little bit from the sort of like junior high nail art project you might do by to keep those consistent angles. I kind of went at, we'll say like a 30-degree angle to the right, and then maybe like I guess it'd be a 220 from the original 330. Anyways, I went about a 2 o'clock and then about 11 o'clock. But you can see there are parts of the pattern where maybe your distribution of nails won't quite line up with that. Or maybe you'll have to do like a few more pieces of string, get a little creative in the in-between part here. You just kind of want to look at the shape as a whole and see about how to visually fill the whole thing in so it looks evenly. So don't be afraid to take a step back. It's quite small, so giving yourself a moment to kind of breathe and look at it from a little bit farther away before you finish. And then you feel free to untie, unwrap a few, wrap them again, wrap them in a different direction, try a few things. Or you can just do it in the random zigzag spiderweb pattern that, you usually see these in. I still think those look cool. When you get to the end, you like how it's all filled in here. You can see I left the inside eyes until it was convenient. I didn't want to waste string, or, I didn't want to have to go there and then go back to the edge. So just whenever I kind of naturally hit that outer outline of the eyes and the outer outline of the mouth, I just went ahead and did those borders the way that I did the outside of the ghost. When we get to the end here, we're going to tie it off in almost the same way that we started, except you're only working with one end of the string, really, right? So make a loop, go ahead and grab the tail, pull it tight, just pull the rest of it through, and then just do that a second time. I end up, after the knot, cutting these pretty close. So I do one, so you can see here, kind of the knot pattern, pull it tight. Make sure you get all the little threads, and you don't want like any weird leftover tension issues, right? You have to keep the thread tense the whole time. So here I tie the same knot again, just to tie it off, and then I'm going to cut it quite close to where I tied the knot. If you feel really good about it, that's great. If you, if maybe you're not as confident in your knot, you can secure it with a little bit of white glue. But once I have it the way I like it, I go ahead and trim both of those. So here is the side view. You can do this as you go. You can do it after you tie it off. I just take a pencil or my finger or a knitting needle or something, kind of small and narrow that I can poke. I like to push the string down closer to the plywood than to the top of the nail. It just ensures the life of your decoration. So after I finish the big ghost, I take the black, I tie it on in the same manner. You can see I tried a couple different configurations here. Tied that in a good knot. This one's so small, I ended up in the same place that I started, so I just tied the two tails together. I take the black and fill in pretty much everything else that we haven't done yet. So I did the circle at the bottom of the exclamation point. I wanted this one to look nice and clean, so I tried this one a couple times so that it didn't just look like a random zigzag. And that one was, again, small, so I took the two tail ends and tied them together. I do the inside of the mouth with the black. I think it makes it stand out a little bit more, and I also did the inside of the eyes. In that same way, I did the outside first and then the inside, and kind of went back and forth until I found a pattern that I liked. And on those, because they were small and kind of regular, I ended up with the string at the same place at the beginning and the end. So I just tied the two together, and that gave it a really nice secure knot. For the bee, because the inside is so close to the outside, I went and did the inside outlines of the top, and then started filling in. And then I believe the bottom outline, it ended up working a little better if I did it in between the winding process, like in the middle instead of at the very beginning or the very end. So once you've got that all filled in, again, we just tie that knot, cut it really close, and that's all there is to it. I would love to see what you make. Have a spooky season, and I will see you next time.